Hello, good day to you. Today I wanted to share something which is very prevalent, but nobody talks about it. Something that I'm experiencing also. It is what we call the white coat hypertension. I don't know how many of you all here know about white coat hypertension, but let me give you a definition by the Mayo Clinic. This is what they said. This condition occurs when blood pressure reading at a health care provider office are higher than they are in the other settings, such as at home. It is called white coat hypertension because people who measure blood pressure sometimes wear white coat. Yes, I have this situation. Whenever I go to hospital settings, I have this thing happening. My blood pressure shoots up like crazy and I don't know what's happening. Now, it's funny that how did I know a few years ago that I was having this? Because I was having consistently high pressure when it came on until such that I have white coat hypertension even at home when I am actually wearing my BP cuff. So that is something that I wanted to bring upon so that you guys are aware of the situation, because many of the time we are not aware. So because we are not aware, we tend to be ignorant about it and we have to face the consequences of taking wrong medications and all that. So now, how did I get to know that I have white coat hypertension? Proper data. With proper data is one day I checked myself in because I was so confused on what was happening to a detox session in an Ayurvedic center at my hometown. And over there, they were also confused why my pressure was always high. Now, the funny part is that I feel perfectly normal. I do my runs, 10K, I've done my 21 km runs. And some of you all know when I was 26 years old, that was around 27 years ago, I had myocardial infarction, which I've shared in some of my one of the recordings with vanakammalaysia.com. So that is something that I have acknowledged, accepted, and that was the best blessing in my life because it changed the course of my life. In that process, I've actually done around 6 21 kilometer runs, half marathons. I feel perfectly okay. Now, the funny part of the whole thing is that when I went to this detox program and they were confused, and at that one time, when in one of the detox processes that you will be subjected to detox, in a way you will be vomiting and also you will be having diarrhea. By right, you should be having personally should be having low blood pressure, but it was high. So I was wearing my watch, which has been a fantastic companion, which was gifted to me for my birthday. So what happened was that when I checked my pressure, when I was going upstairs to get some rest, during the time I opened my phone, I checked exact time of when the pressure was taken. There was a spike of my heart rate of around 20 beats. So that was interesting because the spike went up and then it settled down within the next 5 to 10 minutes. So that was a clear indication that during that time there was something happening. So many people don't know this, so I've used that data whenever I communicate. So from then onwards I started collecting data, and I have immense data that actually keeps track of how do I feel. The most important thing is how do I feel during the situation. When I go to check my BP, that's the only time it happens. Other than that, I'm perfectly fine. Now, whenever I do that, I have this sensation, I have my heart rate racing, and all that thing primes me up that, you know, there's either fight or flight, and that affects the entire reading. Now, a recent incident that took place is that I actually went to a hospital to basically get my blood pressure checked recently. And the funny part is that nobody over there were actually understanding about what is white coat hypertension. And as it is, I'm already ruffled up seeing the situation. I was already feeling stressed up, and I had to go to the counter and I have to explain myself. I've also got a letter from a hypnotherapy session that I went and I wanted to find out. I have put myself into many experiments. I've gone for yoga, I've gone for meditation, osteopathy, thinking that it'll help. I've actually gone for Ayurvedic treatment, thinking that it helps. Finally, I said, okay, fine, I need to go and get some hypnotherapy done. So in that hypnotherapy, I met this wonderful doctor, amazing person. He actually understood what I was going through, and then I asked for a letter. Hopefully this letter will be front end me if I am going to go and see any of the frontliners in the hospital, to show that, hey, I have this situation and you should know this, and you should also know what is my home reading, because the home reading is where I get readings which I keep an immense record, and for me to show, and they acknowledge, and then let me to go through and meet up with the respective doctors. But what actually happened in the hospital that I went, nobody knew about white coat hypertension, which is interesting. In the counter itself, I explained to this person, and this person was like, thank you very much for sharing with me about white coat hypertension. And then I went to next, where tri-age. This is where you will be checked with the blood pressure. I'm already feeling agitated. And when I went to the nurse and I said, I have this condition, and this is what you need to, put into record, because I have my home reading which I've taken in the morning, which I'm actually showing it to you. Now, she was kind enough, because of the number of people who are actually coming and, queuing up to get the reading done. She was also overwhelmed, and she had to check my pressure, and obviously my pressure shot up very high, and they had to put me in another place where I need to go and see another doctor, which would potentially refer me under ER. Now that is becoming, now you know how it's happening. The fight or flight situation is getting even worse, and my heart rate is racing to a very critical level, and I was trying to breathe and nothing worked at that time, because I know when I leave the hospital I'll be fine. So when I met the doctor, this is what I said, I'm having this condition. At that time my wife was around, and I when you are compulsive, when you're in a fight or flight, when you are saying something, it might not come out well. So my wife was there, she was helping out, and finally we were able to share our predicament. And then the moment I walked out of the hospital, within 7 to 10 minutes, my heartbeat came from almost around very high critical level to normalizing to around 90 beats per second. That's within around 10 minutes. So that's interesting. So this is something I've experienced over and over again. So why I'm sharing this is basically, many are experiencing this. Many of the people out there don't even know they're having this condition. So because they're having this condition, they can actually explain to the doctors, and the doctors don't know whatever that they're going through. They will know from whatever they know. We all know what we know, only we don't know what we don't know. So what happens is that they will be prescribed with medication, which will basically affect so many other things. So that's the reason why I'm doing this video, because I wanted to create an awareness. This is for someone who is experiencing this. Many don't. Many, when I speak to about white coat hypertension, they go bonkers. They say, what is that? So this is for if you are experiencing this, where your blood pressure is high, and you wanted to, and you are checking at home, it's normal. Whenever you go to a hospital setting, it goes up. So this is something you need to pay attention and ensure that you are actually talking to your doctors. This doesn't mean that you are actually going to stop your medication and rely on just your BP reading. You need to get your healthcare providers involved in this. That's the reason why I'm having this conversation, because I am experiencing this, and it borders to suffering whenever I want to go to hospital, because the environment is not such that people understand white coat hypertension, and many are suffering. So I have some recommendation that I would like to propose, and this is something that each and every one of us can play a part. Number one is, we must be responsible. First of all, if we have the resources, or if you know someone who could have the resources to get a BP machine in your house, that is a blood pressure machine in your home, measure it over there and keep a record, extensive record, so that whenever you are going to the hospital, you can actually bring this record. Number two, you need to ensure that your family members are informed about this, because they will be the second layer of communication in the event. If you're having anxiousness, anxiety, you are unable to communicate, they will be responding on behalf of you, because you will be just reacting at that situation based on my personal experience. So in my personal experience, I've got my family informed. they are well informed about my situation that I'm going through. All right. Number two, this is my humble request to the hospitals, so that your frontliners are educated about the white coat hypertension, because when you go to the tri-age, that's the first level where your pressure is being measured. As you know, in hospitals, not many people are comfortable when they come in. They only come in when they have some issues. If they're feeling uncomfortable, many feel comfortable. There are some, like me, feel very uncomfortable. They need to understand, and they need to make sure that all the data that has been brought by the patient need to be seen clearly before taking any further action. So this is something to reduce the unnecessary physical and emotional stress. You all know stress increases, all your other hormones will come into play. One of the things, it spikes up, it's your sugar also. So that's why people who are under tremendous stress, even their sugar spikes up. So that is something, when you're doing a blood work, it might show in your blood work also. So my humble request is the hospital need to educate the frontliners on such cases. This will reduce the unnecessary emotional stress for the patient, right? Now, this will also allow the doctors to prescribe you with the right medication. Otherwise, you'll get the wrong medication thinking that you're hypertensive. When you start taking it, you'll feel very dull. That is something you need to pay attention. The next thing is basically the doctors to provide, again, another proposal, the doctors to provide a letter or a tag for such cases where the moment the person is at the tri-age, they can actually show the tag or the letter, and the frontliners, which I spoke earlier, are aware of the situation, so that they can actually send the patient to the doctor, taking account of the home reading, and the home reading must be taken from a PP machine which is calibrated. You can actually get it calibrated in the pharmacies, or if you have a doctor, you can go to a doctor and you find your ways to calibrate the machine, so that the blood pressure that you are measuring at home is reliable, and the doctors can take that data and give you a proper treatment. And this is very important, because if this is done correctly, there's less stress on the patient who's having white coat hypertension, plus there'll be you can lessen the waste of time and effort being taken by the doctor, and the unnecessary stress that the patient is going through. Because if you are wrongly diagnosed, you have to go through another path where there's more medication will be given, more care will be given, there's tension for a lot of people. So most importantly is that in the beginning itself, it should be taken care. That is at the tri-age. Before going to the tri-age, you have your personal accountability of keeping these readings with you and sharing that with your healthcare provider. And your healthcare provider should ensure that the frontliners are educated, knowing that such people would be walking in, so that take proper care and pay attention to what they're saying, so that wrong prescription or wrong direction is not given to the already stressed patient that is actually coming to a situation where it is already stressing them up. So this is something I wanted to share with you, because it is important, I believe. Now, if you have, or you are experiencing this, and you know someone who's experiencing this, do share this information. This information is based on my personal experience. I believe there are more people out there who are experiencing what I'm experiencing, just that number one, they don't know about it, because like what my sister-in-law said, act blur, live longer. So we say ignorance is bliss. Now once you know, you need to be accountable to yourself. During that process, find ways how you can actually manage your stress, which I am actually experimenting many things while talking to the healthcare providers. So it's very important. My humble request is for each and everyone to be accountable and responsible to each and every self, that is ourselves, to be accountable with what we are going through in the health. So it's very important. I'm sharing this message. If you feel it's good, take it. If you feel it's bad, it doesn't really matter. Now the most important thing that I also realized is that there's no forum. I checked in Google, there's no forum, a proper forum where people with this kind of condition actually sits down and have a support group, because this is something borderlines Because people who don't understand, they might be prescribed to be sent to psychiatric center, this and that. Again, you need to talk to your healthcare provider on your situation, where you are. So I'm going to share this. Hopefully, it is an add value that's coming from me. This is my personal experiment, my endeavor for the few years after understanding this. Finally, I had the courage to bring it out to you guys so that you guys will be aware. And once you're aware, please take action to live a great life. Thank you very much. Would love to hear from you, your comment on what you think of this video so that we all can work together to make this world a better place. Thank you so much.